All right, so this is the welcome to the first episode of the Geek Pull podcast. I'm Jonathan Matlock.
I'm Dax Matlock.
Um, just so you understand the relationship, I'm Dax's uncle, and Dax is
I'm his nephew.
yeah, and we love comic books and anything related to comics.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do a comic book podcast about stuff instead of sitting in the parking lot after movies for 2 hours talking about comics. We'll just do it on a podcast, especially since we're not in the same location anymore right now. But when we are, we usually see movies together and we talk about comic book stuff a lot.
Yeah, like until the wee hours of the night.
Right.
My mom always gets mad at me because I'm out too late.
Yeah. I always get a text. Is Dax gone home yet? It's like, yeah, we just finished talking in the parking lot. So yeah. Speaking of movies, we've got a ton of new trailers that came out this past week. Let's start with Doctor Strange. Have you watched the Doctor Strange trailer?
Oh yeah.
What'd you think?
I'm really excited about it. That was so cool. It was, I mean, to me, it kind of looked a little bit like Batman Begins on an acid trip. With a lot of like the stuff in the mountains and then him getting kicked out of his soul. I mean, it was a really interesting first look at that movie. There's been a lot of anticipation about it. So
It's kind of like Batman Begins, Inception, had Christopher Nolan feelings to it.
Yeah, but still Marvel, which was good because it had the like a little bit like it wasn't dark the way that Batman Begins could have been or anything like that. But I think I'm very excited to see more.
The supernatural stuff looks interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this is going to be like one of the darker things that Marvel has taken on, dealing with supernatural things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off.
Yeah, and the director, he used to just do a lot of supernatural, scary films. So
yeah, he did The Day the Earth Stood Still, and then
Emily Rose, right?
Yeah,
Emily Rose.
Yeah, that's it. He went to Biola, didn't he?
Yep. That's where I went. Yep. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see his take on that. So it's kind of exciting to see these directors that are known for certain types of movies that take on some of these comic book movies, like Suicide Squad, David Ayer. Did you see the new Suicide Squad trailer?
Of course. We all gathered around the phone together, like on our dorm, and we all watched it, and we all were just blown away. That movie looks so good.
Yes, that looks really good.
The new trailer was really exciting to see Batman being incorporated into that.
Yeah, I wonder if he's how much of it he's going to actually be in. He could be in it more than we think he is. I was just watching. I was on an airplane trip this morning, and so I was watching Assault on Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Assault on Arkham?
I have not.
It's basically Suicide Squad breaking into Arkham Asylum, but Batman's in it, but he's not in it the whole time, but he's a major player in it.
Okay.
So it's kind of making me think, okay, is Batman more than just maybe a flashback to the origins of Harley Quinn or a flashback with Joker and Harley Quinn? So
yeah, that's going to be the interesting dynamic with that movie is where the Joker and Harley Quinn, how they come into play. Because there are shots of Joker coming out of chemical baths holding Harley Quinn. And there's a shot where they're actually in Arkham before she's Harley Quinn, where they're throwing Harleen on the table.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see because it looks like they're trying to do a lot with her origin story.
Right.
So it'll be cool to see Harley's origin story on the screen and how they end up actually pulling all that stuff off. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Just the fact that there's a movie that has the Joker in it that is not Batman focused, and then plus Harley Quinn in it. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's just such a great thing. Makes my inner nerd so happy.
Yeah, I really hope it's good because DC needs a little redeeming from Batman versus Superman. I liked Batman versus Superman.
I loved it. One of
Um,
my favorite superhero movies.
I saw it again last night for the
Oh,
third.
really?
Yeah, so that was my third viewing, and I was out for a week in California doing video production stuff, and I was dog tired last night before going into watching it. But as long as that movie is, I was still entertained the whole time. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to see it for the third time this weekend because there are a few people on the floor who have yet to see it.
Makes it hard to talk about the movie when there's people around that haven't seen it.
Oh, it makes it so difficult because and the worst part is they've all read the reviews, so they don't have really a clear mindset. So a lot of people have been like getting on to me for thinking it's such a good movie, but they haven't even seen it. They've just read the reviews, and it's like, come on, like,
yeah,
form your own opinion first, and then.
Yeah, I saw it with two people last night that hadn't seen the movie yet, but they had already heard about the negative reviews. One guy really loved it. One guy thought it was just okay. But even the guy who said it was just okay, he did not think it deserved the critic.
I mean, it got torn apart.
Right.
The Super Mario Brothers movie has a higher rating on it on IMDb than which is, that movie is just awful. There's nothing good about that. So right. it at least deserved some positive reviews, I think.
I think for whatever reason, people were looking for something to criticize about that movie, and so they were looking to be critical of it.
It's just kind of the cool thing to hate on DC movies, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because then I'm reading reviews are coming out on Civil War right now, mostly positive reviews, but then I read some of the reviews and it sounded like there were some story issues, some long unnecessary fighting scenes, but the reviewer forgave all of that because it was still fun and enjoyable. I'm like, where was that with Batman versus Superman? Because yet it wasn't fun in the sense that there was a lot of jokes, but it was fun seeing these visuals and these characters come to life. Wonder Woman, the whole parademons scene, the nightmare. I mean, it was just amazing. That was just fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the problem is people just want to be able to go in and enjoy a movie for themselves, and like they want to like laugh and have a good time and it be lighthearted. My grandma commented that she wasn't going to see it because it was too dark and she prefers to have light in her life. And so people are just they just want to have like a fun, enjoyable time. But like when you look at when you look at Batman versus Superman and you look at the Dark Knight Returns comics, it's not light and enjoyable. They're pretty dark stories. So I mean, it only makes sense that the movie is going to be dark and
right. And that's not all of DC across the board.
No,
you have the Flash, which he's very light.
Green Lantern's generally pretty right. Light. Aquaman,
right. So I think once those characters start introducing and playing, right now you've got Batman who's dark. You got Wonder Woman who's pretty serious. And then Superman who's dealing with all this social pressure of what he means to the world. So yeah. My mom, your other grandma, she saw the movie. She really liked it.
Yeah, she did. She texted me and said that she texted both of us and said that was a really enjoyable movie.
Yeah, because she liked it because of the importance it gave to mothers.
Yeah, she viewed it as a story about sons loving their mothers,
right?
Which, I guess that played a really big part into it.
Yeah, I mean that was the
turning point for Batman,
right? I mean, Batman is Batman because he's lost his parents. Superman is Superman because of his parents.
Yeah, and they played such a big role into shaping who they ended up becoming. That, and I think they did a really good job in this movie dealing with that kind of a structure.
Yeah. How do we want to handle spoilers on our podcast?
Spoilers. Let's see. I mean,
I don't like spoilers, but
I think
I
it
guess if there's
comes
spoiler
to,
alerts, then it's okay.
yeah, and like at this point, you should have seen.
Yeah, it's been what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
3 or 4 weeks. Like you, if you're not in it at this point.
Right. But to me, if you're the kind of person who's listening to a podcast about comic books and comic book movies, and you have not seen a movie 3 weeks after it's been released, you probably shouldn't be listening to this kind of podcast.
I mean, continue to listen to it if you want to, but you can't be upset.
So let's just spoiler alert for the rest of the podcast. That
Spoiler alert for the rest of the podcast.
Right.
We didn't give anything away about Batman versus Superman.
Not at all.
Well,
right.
But from now on,
I think
spoiler alert.
Somehow I feel conditioned to not say anything spoiler about Batman versus Superman, even though because whenever I talk about it to anybody, I always kind of even if I'm talking to somebody who's seen it, I'm still talking around the main, some of the spoilers.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's like you kind of don't want to say it because somebody might hear you or something.
That's been my life for the past 3 weeks here, because there's so many people that want to talk about it with me because they know I'm a major nerd, but at the same time, there are lots of people around that haven't seen it, so we can't have too many in-depth conversations.
Right.
Have to skirt around it a little bit.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
It's fine. We're all going to see the movie tomorrow with people who haven't seen it, so
So what format are you seeing it in tomorrow?
We haven't really figured that out yet. I mean, part of me really wants to. I mean, IMAX, just because that movie is so beautiful and the score is just awesome, and seeing it in IMAX really.
Is there a new IMAX movie coming out that's bumping it out? I know Jungle Book comes out this weekend. Is that on IMAX?
I think it is, because it's yeah. I mean, it should be on IMAX. If it's not, I'd be shocked.
So maybe Batman versus Superman is not going to be on IMAX anymore.
Yeah, it's possible. Which then at that point, it's fine. I can suck it up.
I watched it on a pretty small screen last night. Still good. Actually, I could hear some of the dialogue a little better.
Okay, that's interesting.
Not with the IMAX sound. I feel like I totally understood everything. Spoiler alert: the Flash said.
Yeah.
So I felt like I picked up on certain things better. So yeah.
All right, that'll be interesting. I'll have to check it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman, supposedly Ben Affleck is confirmed as directing a new Batman movie, but I haven't seen any dates yet. So until I see a date,
I heard 2018 or 2019 is when we're expecting this movie to be out.
Okay.
Which, I mean, 2018 seems like it might be a little bit too soon, just because of how much work would have to go into making that movie so great in this amount of time that we have. But I did hear that 2018 to 2019, there's supposed to be a Ben Affleck Batman where he directs it as well, which will be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think a good story. I mean, having a Batman standalone story, I mean, there's so many stories you can tell there, and original content you can tell.
Yeah, and he was one of the best parts about Batman versus Superman. I had a lot of doubts about Batfleck, and I was very worried, but he was just really, really killed that character and just nailed it. And so I'm very excited to see a standalone film where he is Batman.
Yeah.
I think that'll be very exciting.
It'll be interesting to see if he keeps a lot of the Zack Snyder um, visuals, like the suit and the car and the Bat Cave. I liked all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it looked awesome. I mean, I feel like he can't really change any of that for his movie because it's already existing in the universe
Right.
that he's in as Batman.
Why would you want to? I mean,
the Batmobile was awesome.
Yeah, and
Oh.
that suit, everything about it, the way he moved, I hope they get the same action choreographer, fight choreographer, because that was great.
Oh, he looks so good in that suit, and all the fight scenes were just great. So I'm very excited.
I wonder if they'll make it a prequel to Batman versus Superman or just a story after. A lot of people think prequel and they'll do the whole Joker killing Robin thing, but
that would be awesome. That'd be a real sad story, but also like seeing that on film would just be powerful.
It almost had to be rated R film to convey that because when the Joker beats Robin to death with a crowbar, it's pretty bloody.
Yeah,
it's pretty violent.
And what storyline is that from?
It's Death in the Family.
Or Death in the Family?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Because isn't there a Death of Robin storyline as well?
That's in Death in the Family.
Oh, it is? Okay. I wasn't sure how that all...
I get there's the new Scott Snyder story that's got a similar name to it, and I always get those two confused now.
Because with the New 52,
it's Death in the Family. That's where Joker kills Robin.
Okay.
College life. Yeah. So I don't know if they'll go backwards. I mean, they're going backwards with Wonder Woman, and they'll probably go back with some of the other characters doing some origin stuff. So
yeah, if they didn't do that, that'd be very very surprising just because we don't know a lot.
Right.
Unless in Batman versus Superman, spoiler alert, they did do some kind of origin-y things with at least Cyborg, they especially did.
Right.
But so it'll be interesting to see how much, because they have to address some things, but they did kind of get that basis out there. So it'd be interesting to see if they actually do end up making those origin stories, or and how much they don't focus on that.
Yeah, it seems like they'd have to do an origin story for Cyborg unless they show more of that in Justice League. Even for, even for the Flash and Aquaman. Aquaman doesn't really need an origin story; he just kind of is. But, yeah, I was thinking they could have already been planning to do a prequel Batman, because since they grayed Ben Affleck's hair for the movie,
yeah,
they can ungray it for an earlier, younger version of him if they wanted to.
Yeah, because it'll be interesting. Yeah, and because where it would be really interesting to watch another Batman movie where you have a really seasoned Batman and weathered, where he's just old and he's starting to fall more into his starting to break a few more of his rules and becoming more of a true vigilante rather than just what everyone would call him, a vigilante, but really just kind of becoming darker and dirty. It'd be interesting to see the steps that got him to breaking, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. It'd also be interesting to see it'll be interesting to see what villain they try and pull with that, because there's so many in his rogues gallery that would be interesting.
I'd like to see a good Riddler.
Yeah, story. The Riddler he just hasn't been done well. And it'd be interesting to see a really good one because he's such a cool character. and they've been doing lots of really neat things with him, comic book wise, and just making him not seem like such a goober, which is real important.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. It'd also be kind of, I think it'd be fun to, being that it's Poison Ivy's 50th anniversary this week.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she debuted this week in 1966.
Oh.
So that's pretty exciting. But it'd be really cool to see an awesome depiction of her too.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's been in a movie, but she was really terrible.
Yeah, she was one of the worst things to come out of those. But I mean, that was in Batman Forever, right?
Yes. That's the one with Mr.
Or was that?
Freeze?
Wait, I think that's Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin's with Mr. Freeze, right?
Yeah. So,
and Batgirl.
Yeah.
And some form of Bane. Yeah.
Yeah, like bodyguard Bane that doesn't really do much.
Right.
Oh man. So, but I think because I think she's such a cool, interesting character, and she's so dark and interesting that it'd be kind of fun to see her play into the Batman universe cinematically.
Yeah. There's also rumors that Batman's supposed to be in the Wonder Woman movie.
Really?
Yeah.
They're just trying to milk Ben Affleck as much as they can.
Batman's their moneymaker, so you put Batman in everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it because I mean I love Wonder Woman, but
which would make sense because Wonder Woman will come out before Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do a little tease into Justice League at the end of the Wonder Woman movie, she's teaming up with Batman to find the Justice League, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense plot wise to have that set up into the Justice League movie, even if it were just him as like a little cameo towards the end. But
yeah, it doesn't need to be a ton
focused
of stuff, but
yeah, just like one scene really is all you need.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see. I'm very excited about the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, there was an interview with her, and she was kind of talking about how there's not much. Everyone's asking because of the critics on the Batman versus Superman movie. There's been a lot of attention on, are other DC movies going to have humor in it? So they were asking her if the new Wonder Woman's going to have humor in it, and she was saying that it's pretty dark. There will be some light moments, but still pretty serious tone to it. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like with Wonder Woman, because light Wonder Woman was done with Linda Carter, and it was pretty good, but there's really no way to have a light Wonder Woman without, like, you really can't take her too seriously if she's too light, and especially since they are going back in time to World War II. I mean, it doesn't really make sense that it would be.
It's World War One.
World War One. Okay.
Yeah, that's a World War One story.
That'll be really interesting because World War One, I feel, isn't really touched ever, but it's a pretty interesting war.
Yeah.
And so that'll actually be cool to see a different. That'll be a really different Wonder Woman take then.
Yeah. So I'm curious how much of the movies takes place during that time, and then how much of it's in the current timeline. So I think if they can find other characters to surround Wonder Woman that are more lighthearted, that helps things. I think the general movie audience and Wonder Woman can still be fierce, because she was definitely fierce in Batman versus Superman.
Oh, very. Oh my gosh, watching her fight scenes in that movie were just, it was so awesome. She was incredible.
Yeah. That lasso.
The lasso. You got to look hard for it, but it's there.
So switching subjects, Civil War is coming out soon. Are you like, where's your excitement level for that?
My excitement level. So that's a very, very good question.
It does have Spider-Man in it, and that's
It
pretty
does have
cool.
Spider-Man, which I'm very curious because for some reason Spider-Man has not been done well in the theaters, which makes me upset because Spider-Man is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So it'll be really interesting to see how he fits in, having a teenager with all these adults and having all that fit into the Civil War aspect, because he's supposed to be playing a pretty large role into this movie from what I understand. He's a rather important character, and it's going to focus, he's going to do some really important things in this movie. I didn't really like the suit all that much. I
really?
hope it looks way too CGI for me. The red is too bright for my personal taste. I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of, because like if you look at Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and their Spidey suits, it looks very, very realistic. I mean, like obviously in Tobey Maguire, they were still like, the technology was not that great. So when he's flying around, it still definitely looks very, very computer done. But at the same time, their suits, when they're just standing there, they look very realistic. And this suit looks a little bit unrealistic to me. So it'll be interesting to see if that is the final suit that they end up using in that one trailer that they had. If they make any changes to it, because there were a lot of different reviews on the suit and complaints from fans.
What did you think of the eyes?
I thought the eyes were really cool. I like having the white eyes that when they contracted, I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was excited about that.
Yeah, it makes sense that they'll evolve the suit, especially considering that Peter Parker's supposed to be a teenager. So, and as he meets Tony Stark and everybody else, he kind of can get upgrades. But yeah, I think he's the reason I'm probably most interested in Civil War. I'm also interested to see just a comparison of Civil War's story.
I'm excited to see Black Panther.
Oh yeah,
I think he looks really good. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, he does look good.
Especially because like Spider-Man, they're bringing him in with no history in this universe, but people know who Spider-Man is. They know his origin story. So I'm very interested to see how they bring Black Panther in, because he's not as well known of a character, but he looks so great. So
what I wonder, are they going to spend a lot of time talking about his background? How much time of the movie is going to be for that? Because that's a really different character. Yeah, because he doesn't have any known, and that was kind of the thing with Batman versus Superman. You had some things come in that comic book people know, but the general audience don't know, but they didn't give the time to explain any of it.
Yeah.
So how much time are they going to give to Black Panther?
Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how all of that plays out, especially because Spider-Man is supposed to take up a lot of screen time in this movie. So it'll be interesting to see how everything all pans out. But I mean, overall, I'm gonna go see it. I'm not super thrilled about it just because I'm getting a little exhausted with the Marvel Universe movies. But I mean, it's gonna be fun and enjoyable to watch. So
yeah, it can't be a bad movie.
It can't be bad. So I'm excited for just another good, enjoyable movie. But my inner nerd is not like shaking at its core,
right?
The way it does for other things. So,
are you like, to me, the X-Men Apocalypse has not been on my radar at all this year. I know for some people it's all they're looking forward to. I don't know. What about you? Are you thinking?
I'm very, very excited about X-Men.
Okay.
I haven't done a lot of research into like the movie or the apocalypse or anything, but I mean, the X-Men universe it's been one of, because I think it might have been one of the first superhero movies I ever saw. If I'm thinking back, I mean, I was really young when stuff was coming out, but that I remember because Wolverine was my favorite as a kid. Cyclops was my absolute favorite as a kid. So I just love all those characters because they're just so cool. And like the idea of being a mutant, I just think it's awesome. And so to see how they make this movie play out with everything that's going on in it, I'm pretty thrilled about it.
Yeah. If anything, watching Deadpool made me excited again for X-Men movies. I know it will be completely different.
Oh, very different.
Just the X-Men universe that was even hinted at or even joked about in Deadpool kind of brought me like, oh yeah, we're gonna have more X-Men movies coming up.
Yeah, because they haven't done one in a while.
It was Days of Future Past was the last one.
Yeah, and that was a really good movie. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, I just don't know, like it was just a big cast in those movies.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because I mean, it's different than the other Marvel movies, naturally, because it's not in the universe, so it's got a whole different tone. But yeah, like you said, they have a big cast list, and it's a big story to tackle too. So it'll be interesting to see once it's on screen.
I wonder if Fox is ever going to try to bring Deadpool into their X-Men movies.
I feel like they kind of lost their shot with Deadpool because they tried. And
well, no, because Fox still owns Deadpool. Or
yeah,
still has the rights to Deadpool. I'm talking about like the new Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't see him really fitting in with the rest of the movie. It'd be interesting to see a plot where, like, if he like came in and like wiped out the X-Men, I think that could be really cool.
That might be more of a Deadpool movie. I think is he able to make a cameo or something in an X-Men movie, even though he's rated R material?
I think it's possible. Will they do it? I'm not really sure. If their numbers aren't so good on Apocalypse, then they might, to try and boost, because people will want to see Deadpool again, because that was a pretty big success. So that could boost some popularity for them having that.
Right. Because for X-Men, it's been Wolverine's kind of been the staple guy, but
yeah,
Hugh Jackman's on his way out. So maybe Deadpool becomes their new staple for the X-Men universe. But
yeah,
I saw Deadpool again this week as well.
So, yeah,
the second time, caught a lot more jokes that had flown past my head over my head the first time.
There's so many jokes in that movie, and everyone hits. There's not one that's like, huh? They're all like funny. So that was my biggest concern with the movie, was that it was going to be very try-hard humor.
Yeah, it's interesting the success of it and all the talk about making certain comic books rated R or comic movies rated R now. Even though there's been rated R comic book movies, Watchmen, 300, Kick-Ass, but as far as
but at the same time, those aren't like your main superhero movies, so that's why they were able to get away more with that.
Yeah, like I feel Suicide Squad. David Ayer came out and talking about the sequel and how the sequel could potentially be rated R.
That would be really exciting. I feel like if you have that many villains in a squad, like in a team force, like working together, like I feel like being restricted by the limits of PG-13 kind of makes it a little bit less interesting.
Yeah, because I think if Deadpool had come out a year ago, they probably would have shot Suicide Squad differently.
Yeah.
But the question is, will they be able to go backwards with it for a sequel? If it's a successful movie and they've got people coming out for the PG-13 version of it, do they risk that and go rated R next time, or do they just stick with the PG-13 formula?
Yeah. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
There's really no way to know what could happen.
The Killing Joke animated movie they're coming out with, that they've confirmed is going to be rated R.
And thank goodness it's going to be rated R, because I don't even know that you could make that plot without it being rated R. I just read it for the first time yesterday.
What'd you think?
I'm going to reread it probably today or tomorrow, because there was the entire time my jaw was just on the floor from page 18 onwards.
It's a horrific story.
Oh, it's so shocking, and it's different than what I've heard, because a lot of the like people that talk about it, they try and keep it pretty vague. They don't like talk as openly about it, and so like I had ideas about what it was, but I didn't know exactly everything.
Right.
And reading it, I was just, it was unreal. I mean, I think I like was like, oh my goodness, out loud, and I'm like reading in like a room full of people, and I'm like, what? Like just like yelling at it, because I'm like, how is all this happening? And like the Joker crosses lines that I didn't know were possible for him to cross, because I mean, they just took it to such a dark place. But I mean, it was really well written. You have Alan Moore, and he's just a great storyteller, which is interesting because he doesn't really like it all that much. He just thinks like, oh, it's just another story, like whatever, like it's not my best work by far, but it is known to be one of the greatest Joker stories of all time. And after reading that, I totally see why, because it's very interesting, and it ends so ambiguously, where you just don't know what happens, and everything is just, it's just so shocking. If you haven't read it, you need to read it, especially before the movie, because that'll help give some insight, because they'll recreate some shots in the movie, and it's always fun to see whenever they recreate panels visually in a cinematic sense. And then they're supposed to be adding stuff to the movie.
Yeah, I would think they would need to, just to flesh it out into a full feature length, because it's not a long story as far as the comic goes, but
because it's only about like 47 pages.
Yeah,
which is,
there's a lot of time that happens in the story.
There's a lot of time, and so
yeah, so they'll have to fill in some of the gaps, but yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable watching that as a animated cartoon, I think.
Yeah, because like part of me was like, man, like I know how like renowned the story is. It would be really cool to see it done like live action, but I don't know if I would want to watch it live action, just because I feel like it could be said so like psychologically like messed up in my head, and I don't want to see those visuals with real people.
Right. It's one thing to see it still in a comic book, but then like you put that in live action, it's like, I mean, the whole,
it makes it feel a lot more real.
Jim Gordon thing is just weird. Yeah.
I mean, oh golly, I because I don't want to talk about it, because in case people haven't read it, I don't want to like say anything, because that's one of those spoiler alerts that I don't want to spoil. Because it's something you have to, like, even my friend who was going to read it after me, he like tried looking over my shoulder while I was reading. I was like, don't look. Like I closed the book. I was like, don't, I don't want to spoil, like this is too much of a story, like for even like just a glimpse at any panel to.
Yeah.
And I have the deluxe edition of it, which has redrawn artwork, recolored, and the coloring on it was just amazing. It was beautiful. So dark, and just really helped, especially with the Joker flashback sequences, having little bits of red accented in black and white panels was just really, really gorgeous. Like, just really well done. And the joke at the end of it it's a funny joke once you understand it. Because when you're first reading, you're like, I didn't really get the joke. Why is it funny? But
Yeah,
then
I need to reread it again.
Yeah. I recommend that. And I'm really hyped up on it because I've been trying to figure out what happens in it. And so I've been reading a bunch of theories and reviews on it, just trying to really wrap my mind around everything in that comic book. And so it's there's a lot in it for the 47 pages that it takes up, which isn't very many really for how big of a story this is.
Right. I'll reread it this week, and next week we'll talk about we'll have a full depth spoiler episode on The Killing Joke.
That sounds awesome. I'm so down for that.
What else are you reading?
So I just read over the summer, I was given a copy of The Savage Hawkman Volume 1. I read that and I was not a fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the artwork on it I really liked because it was very different, very cool. But and the story was pretty interesting, but the writing was not, which I was pretty upset about because I think Hawkman is such a cool character, and I was excited to get to read about him because I haven't done very much of that outside of things he's done like within Justice League from time to time, a long time ago too. But so I was looking forward to it because it looked pretty good, but the writing just they did a lot of inner dialogue with his head, like in his head, and it was just kind of narrating things that were going on, but it was just bland and just not, the story just wasn't told very well, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Right.
But I guess he's not like a main character, so it makes sense that it's not the greatest team of people working on it. Not saying that it was like awful by any means, but it just wasn't what I was hoping for out of
it'd be cool to see Jeff Johns take just an Aquaman or Hawkman title and revitalize him because it's such a cool looking character.
Yeah.
And he's kind of awesome. But yeah, there's not that many great Hawkman stories. A lot of it's older stuff. Yeah, I've got a Hawkman. It's like a DC Essentials thing, but it's like some of the first issues of the original Hawkman with his wife, with Hawk Girl, and it's all black and white print.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty funny the stories in there because they come from another planet to Earth to research, to learn. Oh, they chased a villain to Earth.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting that they started taking care of a museum and had all access to all these Earth weapons that they were testing out. So it's kind of funny.
That's interesting. Yeah. In this story, he just comes like, it starts like the opening scene is him trying to get rid of his nth metal costume outfit, and he tries to burn it, and then it becomes a part of him. So where he thought he was going to be able to destroy his Hawkman suit, it actually became a part of his body where he could feel the nth metal inside of him, and anytime that he was in a dangerous place, it would just show up, like the suit would just show up out of his skin. So it was pretty interesting, but at the same time, it just wasn't the story. It just wasn't written the way I wanted it to be written.
It's kind of what they did with the new Blue Beetle, because the old Blue Beetle was just a guy in a costume like Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
New Blue Beetle, he's got the little scarab attached to his back, and then when danger occurs, he turns into the Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to make him more
human, less alien,
right?
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, I've been reading. I've been saving the issues, but Twilight Children.
Okay.
It's written by what's that? Gilbert Hernandez, and the illustrations by Darwin Cook.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who Darwin Cook is, but I love his style. He's got this kind of retro-y look to everything he does. But yeah, it was a 4-issue miniseries. I think it was a Vertigo title. So yeah, I just finished reading that, and it was good.
That's good. It's pretty cool.
I like his stuff.
I also just finished Jeff Johns, his last Green Lantern book in the New 52 volume. I think it's volume 3, which he'd been working on Green Lantern since Rebirth, and then through Blackest Night and all that stuff, and then he did the New 52 stuff, and it just ended. And it was one of the best stories I think I've read in a while. I think Green Lantern is one of the cooler superheroes, pretty underrated, and having Jeff Johns' last run with Green Lantern, it ended very epically. The artwork, I mean, that the color of green used on Green Lantern and just within all the other lanterns that came into play in the story, it's just very visually appealing, very beautiful. The colors are just really awesome, and the story was just so well written. It's hard not to have a well written Jeff Johns story, but it was a great way for him to go out of the series.
I've been trying to decide if I want to keep reading some of the New 52 trades with the whole Rebirth coming up.
Yeah.
I know there's some good stories still out there. I definitely want to finish all the Batman stories.
I just bought the volume 1 of Batman New 52.
Yeah, all of Scott Snyder's Batman stories are great.
Yeah, I plan on reading that this weekend because it's supposed to be pretty good. And I mean, I did not like Batman very much. Just he never was really a character that super duper interested me. But then Batman versus Superman kind of sparked this kind of like a bit of a fire because I really loved seeing Ben Affleck as Batman.
Interesting.
He did. His portrayal of it just really kind of helped me change my mind. I don't know why. I don't know what specifically caused that, but it did. And so now I'm reading more Batman stories. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, these Batman stories by Scott Snyder are great.
I've heard very good things about them.
Yeah, they're very entertaining and psychologically just interesting. So
that'll be cool.
What we haven't talked about is the Star Wars Rogue One trailer.
Oh my goodness. How did we not talk about that? That looks so good.
Yeah, that was I'm more interested in that than I think I was The Force Awakens.
Really?
The Force Awakens was very much I was really interested just because it was the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it also seemed like it was also just going to be kind of and it was not a new story. Where this seems like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's also
I like that it's going back in time, right, to focus on the people who stole the plans for the Death Star. I think that's going to be a real interesting story to see. I'm hoping Darth Vader's in it.
He's got to be, because he's in it. I mean, he's there. He's building.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it would be ridiculous if he weren't. I was kind of hoping we would at least in the trailer catch a glimpse of him breathing or something. But
I bet they're waiting to drop that until later.
Yeah, because closer to the movie release, because
they don't have to show Darth Vader in it at all if they don't want to, and let just people be surprised when he shows up on screen in the movie theater.
Yeah,
because people are gonna pay to see the movie no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who are just another Star Wars movie.
Really?
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are but they're also people who they didn't like Force Awakens. They're not
Star Wars fans.
they're not super into it. Like they love the old trilogy, but like other than that, they just kind of dump on everything else Star Wars.
It'll be interesting to see if they, because of all the additional Star Wars movies they're going to make, if that waters down the main trilogy line of stories that they're doing, and if people just care less about Star Wars. But gosh, there's a lot of people that love Star Wars. So
I mean, and like the thing is, like they're not going to make a bad start. Like it's not going to be. I mean, they will never have a unsuccessful Star Wars movie because there's too much writing on everything for it to really like just be a pile of poo. Like it's got to be something good. It's going to be worth seeing. And I like that these spin-off movies they're not just like kind of like cheaper, like we're just going to spit this out. Like it is a fully produced movie. Really, really well done. So I'm very excited about it because it'll just be cool to see some of like, because there are a few character shots that like were people I recognized from like the original trilogy, but they weren't people I really knew. So I'm kind of excited to get to see some familiar characters and get to know more about who they are and what part they actually play.
Do you have any guesses on who this girl might be?
I saw a rumor that is going to be Rey's mom. That would be, yeah.
Huh.
Have you seen that at all?
I haven't read that rumor.
It was on, I can't remember where I saw that. It was online somewhere. But there was like a side-by-side shot of her and then Rey, and they look alike. And Daisy Ridley spoke out about it. She said, I don't think that's possible. It could be, but just because you have two female lead roles who have brown hair does not mean that we're related. Right. So I hope they don't go that route. It would be interesting to see. But
I was kind of thinking like, and this is probably not at all how it's going to go, but we were when I was in California this week, we were theorizing who she could possibly become. And I was thinking, what if she, because they've already told the Boba Fett story basically in the prequels. What if she actually becomes the Boba Fett that Han Solo kills?
Interesting.
She gets on the Death Star. She kills Boba Fett, puts on his costume. What if it's a launch into that? Because she's got to be something that's... She's got to be somebody important, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's not going to be someone unimportant.
Because the way the trailer ended, it was like, hey, this is somebody. This person's going to become somebody that is interesting to Star Wars movies fans.
That's an interesting theory. Oh man, I'd be so excited if that's what they did. I think that'd be cool.
So then she she takes on the Boba Fett, but then it doesn't make sense because then all of a sudden, why is she now working for Jabba the Hutt? So
yeah,
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, what character could she be connected to from the original movies that people would care about? There hasn't been any news about a Boba Fett movie yet,
which would be so cool because he's one of the coolest characters, but there's really not a lot out on him.
Right, he doesn't have an interesting backstory yet.
Because
in the movies,
because I know his novels are pretty good. His comic books are supposed to be pretty interesting, but it'd be really cool to see him be a really big focus in a movie.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's time for our comments on comments section.
Let's move to it.
So I'm going to read a comment that was left on a website. And this comment was left on a Movie Report article that was on Comic Book Movie about how they're narrowing down their casting choices for a Han Solo movie.
Interesting.
And the comment is, why? And in the comments, the thread, the context for it, a lot of people were like, "Don't give us Obi-Wan, or don't give us a Han Solo movie. Give us an Obi-Wan movie." And this guy, Fishy Zombie, commented, said, "Why do people want an Obi-Wan movie? There is literally no more story to tell with him. He spent 20 years being a hermit on a desert planet. The end."
There is so much to talk about with Obi-Wan.
Right?
And I want to see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan again.
Right?
That's really the biggest thing, is I want to see Ewan McGregor robe up and be that great Jedi Knight. Why wouldn't you want to see that?
Right. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, there's so much that could happen that he could do.
Because obviously Obi-Wan was the best thing to come out of the prequels, was Ewan McGregor's take on Obi-Wan Kenobi. And
he deserves a great movie.
He deserves to be able to have a great film. And I mean, the whole thing, so especially there are theories out there that Rey is a descendant of Obi-Wan.
Right.
So,
but they both have that British accent.
They both have the British accent, but the only problem I have with that is that I mean, Obi-Wan is so true to the Jedi code that I find it hard for him to break that and be with it, fall in love and all that stuff. But at the same time, in the book universe, there are stories where he has fallen in love with people. So it would be really interesting to watch a movie with that kind of a thing if they end up having Rey be a descendant of him, just so that there is some explanation on that, because I mean, there's a lot that can be left unanswered if they do just throw out that she's a descendant of him, which if they do, I want to see an Obi-Wan movie explaining that. And just Obi-Wan is so cool.
Yeah.
He's so wise.
And he can have adventures surrounding his protection and watching over of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, surely there in that 20 years, there have had to been moments where the Empire was getting Darth Vader or somebody was getting close to finding Luke or something, that Obi-Wan had to do something to protect Luke. So
yeah. So
there's potential stories there.
I mean, there's so many stories. And even if it were if they took it to an in the Clone Wars kind of a thing, where they have a lot of what he was doing, or I mean, there's so much potential with him, lots of different storylines that they can.
And I think it's a better movie than trying to do a Han Solo movie. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, because one, finding someone to, do they have who's going to play young Han Solo?
Forget who they were narrowing it down to. It hasn't been decided yet, but
because those are some big. I wouldn't want to be in that role. No matter how confident I was in my acting. Oh, hold on, I have to let my roommate in.
Yeah. We can edit this out.
Yeah. It's college.
What?
All right, keep going. All right, so shoot, what were we talking? We were talking about young Han Solo.
Yeah, so they're looking at right now. It seems like Deadline is reporting that a guy named Alden Ehrenreich,
okay,
is the front runner for, but who knows?
I mean, that's such a tough role, because Han Solo is such an iconic character.
Yeah.
And to have a young Han Solo, while it would be really interesting to see some stuff with him and smuggling, and cool to see him and Chewbacca going around the galaxy and screwing people over. Like at the same time, without Harrison Ford as Han Solo,
I feel like Harrison Ford during the original trilogy was already kind of young. So
yeah,
it's like,
I mean, because he was. I mean, he wasn't.
You got to go like 18 or something to get younger. But
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I mean, I would love it. I'd go see it. I'd be excited about it. But if I had to pick between Han Solo and Obi-Wan, I'm going Obi-Wan. Partly because I just really love Ewan McGregor. He's one of my favorite actors.
Right.
So,
what if they did an Obi-Wan the musical?
bring back the Moulin Rouge, which is my favorite movie, by the way. Seen it 53 times in the past few years. But
a singing Obi-Wan.
Singing Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan the musical.
That'd be amazing.
I'd see it. I'd fly to New York, go to see it on Broadway.
No, I'm talking like a musical. Like,
oh, a movie musical.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I'm down. I'd support it. It'd be real ridiculous and everyone would hate it.
Everyone would hate it.
Everyone would hate it so much, but he's got such a fantastic voice.
Yeah,
he needs to come out with an album, but
I could watch him sing for 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he's wearing a Jedi robe, like, yeah, why not? That just makes it a little bit better. Like,
right.
You go, Ewan.
Yep. So the Han Solo movie does have the guys who did the Lego movie on board.
Okay.
So, it should be a good story and good script. But yeah, it's just, I don't know.
So we'll see where that leads in the future.
So now it's time for a segment I like to call Rumors versus Truth, where I am going to throw out something that is floating around. So after Batman versus Superman, people saying, oh, it's not a fun movie. The Suicide Squad went into reshoots recently, and the story is, the rumor is that they are reshooting it to add more humor into the movie. True or false?
I say false. And here's why. I read an article where David Ayer actually, he talked about it and he squandered the rumor.
Yes.
He said, "What? That's stupid." Not quite literally, but like that's pretty much the vibe of what he was saying. And he said the people they liked at Warner Brothers, they liked the movie, and they said you can add some more stuff if you want to. Like, we're not going to restrict you. Like, you've done a good job with it. It was kind of like, here's a little reward. So they're actually shooting some more action sequences, which is what he was saying. They might add in a few more humorous elements, but the reason of going back to reshoot is not to add more humor based on the poor critics of Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, I think it'd be really hard to do a reshoot to add more humor because then you just have spots of humor.
And it would be so choppy. It turned into like where they had to cut everything out of Green Lantern, and it just ended up being super awful. Like,
right. It's easy to add more action into an action sequence that probably exists, but to change the tone of a movie.
Yeah, because they would have to reshoot the entire thing at that point to like,
right.
And we wouldn't be getting it in August.
Right.
It would be impossible for them to make a good movie at that point, and I think they're smarter than that.
Yeah, and the trailers released so far, it looks like, you got Harley Quinn in the movie. She's a funny character, so
yeah, like there will be humorous element. I also have heard though that a lot of the humor stuff has, like, almost all of it has been shown in the trailers.
Again, I think it's a false rumor.
You think that's a false rumor? Okay, that'll be interesting to see.
Well,
there's no way Harley Quinn, like, she's
nuts. So everything she says is going to be somewhat funny.
Yeah, there's going to be. Sure, like it'll still be a dark movie because you've got a freaking squad of villains. Like, there's no way to not have that be dark. No way. as stated earlier. And but I mean, and Harley Quinn, like, she's just completely psycho. Like, even she's just crazy, and she says funny things all the time. Like, they're demented and funny at the same time. So it's like,
and we haven't heard the Joker actually be funny, and I think the Joker will have some jokes.
He's got to. I mean, even in The Killing Joke, where he's very dark and maniacal, he's still cracking some jokes. He's not like goofy, but I mean, he's a humorous guy. Like, there's gonna be some lightheartedness, but overall,
it's gonna be a heavy movie.
It's gonna be heavy, and if you go into it thinking it's gonna be light, you're gonna be severely disappointed. I'm so excited about that movie.
It's funny how these rumors get float around, and I mean, a lot of movies do reshoots, especially around this time leading up to their release, because they're in the editing process and they're like, okay, we actually need something here to do the transitions right, or to fill in some gaps. So reshoots are completely normal, and for people just to jump on and assume that they need more humor because Batman versus Superman didn't have humor in it,
because there was never really anything, like, none of the sources of they're doing reshoots to add humor, none of them were like reputable.
It's all speculation.
It was all speculation, and a lot of people are just like, oh, did you hear that they're doing this to, and it's like, no, that's not, no, like, actual, like, nobody like that truly has any say in the movie came out and said we're doing this to add some more humor into it.
Right.
So that rumor, false.
Yep, it's false. It is false. Okay, so I've been saving up money to buy the Lego Batman 1966 Batcave. The thing is $270. I've never spent that much money on Legos for one set.
I don't think I've ever owned any Lego kit that was that much.
Yeah. There's part of me that's like, maybe I shouldn't buy this thing, but it's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think you should do it. What minifigures does it come with? So it's all about the minifigures.
It comes with Bruce Wayne.
Awesome.
Dick Ward. Or Dick Grayson. Burt Ward, Dick Grayson. Comes with Alfred the Butler. It comes with Cesar Romero Joker with mustache. Comes with Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, and it comes with a little kitty cat. And I think that's it.
That's awesome. How, just those minifigures alone make it really cool. And then the actual aspects of the Batcave.
Right. Comes with the Batcave, Bat poles, has the Batmobile, which to me, it'd be cool if they just released the Batmobile set.
Yeah.
But it has the Batcopter and the Bat Cycle.
I mean, for that much money, you're getting a lot of really cool things, right. You know?
And Lego had an exclusive, and I think it actually might end today, which now puts some pressure on me. They had an exclusive where if you spent $75 or more, you'd get a 1966 Batman Mr. Freeze minifig.
Oh. Okay. Here's the deal. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Mr. Freeze is one of the coolest characters. No pun intended. I had some trouble getting that one out. I didn't mean to say it, but while I was saying it, I realized what I was saying. Speaking of Batman 66, though, I've been doing a lot of research into some statues and figurines of superhero-related.
Oh, yeah?
Substances. And if you look at my Amazon wish list, it is almost all DC statues.
Really?
And busts. My mom called me and was like, what is your Amazon wish list? And I was like, hey, you know, but I don't really have a good explanation for that. I just think they're cool. But Batman 66, they have a lot of really cool, just little like 6-inch tall bust figurines of the characters, and they have a really cool it's all from the TV show. So you got Cesar Romero with mustache, yep. Catwoman, Egghead, Mr. Freeze, the Riddler, Penguin. The Penguin is really cool. Batgirl looks great too. And so you got all like, there's a nice little collection of them, and they're just really neat. And I saw them, they had them at the comic book store that I went to out here in Nashville. And seeing them in person, I was like, oh yeah, these are so cool. So that's something Batman 66 related that I also have been looking at.
And just so happens your birthday is coming up, so you are updating your wish list, right?
Oh, my wish list is it's changing day to day. Things are adding to it. But yes, my birthday is coming up April 25th. And so if you want to get me something cool, I mean, there's a lot of really awesome statues. I mean, whenever I get bored, I just go through Amazon and I go through their toys and their big kid or their adult action figures and collectibles. I've been going through the statues, and there's just a lot of really beautiful hand painted statues that have been coming out, and just some really neat stuff. But so pretty much all I do in my free time is look at those statues now.
These aren't cheap.
They're not cheap, because I mean they're limited edition. They only have like 5,000 of them.
Are they these Diamond Select toys?
I believe so.
Yeah.
They're pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been circling figurines and action figures for a bit. I just joined a Facebook group not too long ago. It's a DC collectibles group, and there's people that just post their toy find of the day.
That's cool.
Like, I probably shouldn't be part of that group, but
you know, why not?
Yeah, I'm looking at your wish list right now, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I just kind of started scrolling through it too.
I got it pulled up. That DC Collectibles Comics Batgirl statue.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm a huge fan of Batgirl stuff. In fact, I bought I pre-ordered a Funko what's their new series? They're doing the DC Girls
Bombshells? Are they the Bombshells?
No, it's not the Bombshells. What's it called?
The Bombshell statues are pretty awesome, but I feel uncomfortable asking for them considering people like my grandma is looking at them.
It's the Funko Rock Candy action figures.
Okay.
And they have two Batgirl versions.
Mm-hmm.
And I pre-ordered one of them. It's the classic one, I think. Just to put on my empty shelves that I've got in my office now.
Yeah. See, what I'm thinking with the statues and those kind of collectibles and figurines and stuff is, like, I don't really need a lot because I'm in college. And so I'm not really looking to like add on to stuff in my tiny little room that I have. So I'm thinking long-term here with these statues.
Right.
I'm thinking about when I have a house in a few years, like what I want my office to look like. And I want to have an awesome bookshelf full of really cool collectibles. That is just something that I think, something I'm really interested in. And especially one of my grandmas, she really enjoys, well, I guess both of them, they enjoy getting me physical things when really like a lot of the time I just ask for money, but they get mad because they want to actually buy me something physical. So I was like, well, you know, these statues and figurines are cool. I might not end up with all of them. So I'll just ask for a bunch of different really cool ones and start building a collection, because I won't get them all at once, obviously, because they are $50 plus. But you know, the statues and figurines are something that are really cool, and I'm a hoarder and I love to collect things, and so I figure that's something that's a really cool thing to collect, because they're all just really beautifully made. Really cool. I have an awesome, let's see if I can find it real quick so I can get all the name right. It's these, I'm gonna butcher this so bad, but it's Kotobukiya.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Those statues are just so gorgeous. I think I have the Flash, Green Lantern, and Boba Fett, and Raven. They're awesome Raven. But I have all of those on my list just because they're so beautiful. They use a really nice shimmery paint, and they just look gorgeous. This Green Lantern just looks really great. I saw in person at the comic book store, I saw the Flash and the Aquaman ones, and they were also just, I mean, just beautiful. They have a metallic paint that is just really gorgeous, and they're all hand painted, and it's just really high quality stuff, and they're not really that expensive. I feel like for a collectible, like $50 is not awful.
Yeah. No, what size? Yeah, they're 9 inches, about roughly 8 to 9 inches.
Yeah, 8 to 9. They're not the tallest things, but they're not the smallest things either.
Yeah, they have a really cool Batgirl one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one too.
Yeah, so I've been trying to figure out how. Okay, if I start collecting these types of things, I feel like I have to have a narrow scope of, you know.
That's been the hardest thing, is because there's so many really cool ones, but they also have a lot of repeats of characters, because they don't expand their character horizons, which is why it's so exciting to find some more. Like when I found 2 really cool Raven statues, and I love Raven. Yeah. She's one of the cooler characters, I think, and they're starting to do some more stuff with her, I think, and she's been playing a bigger role in Teen Titans stuff, and I think she's just awesome. So like finding these, like, I found a really cool Red Tornado, some cool Penguin statues. Like, it's just always fun to like find these kinds of things, because they have some really, but it's also hard, like, not getting every single Flash statue I see, because with the Flash being my favorite superhero, I'm wearing a Flash shirt now. It's like, it's hard for me not to just put every single one on there. But when I see like some cool, like, Earth One Flash, or like the real classic throwbacks, it's just always so fun with the Golden Age Flash statues and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how your collection progresses over the next year.
Yeah, because with my birthday coming up next month, it'll be interesting to see if I gain anything. I have a 48-inch tall Darth Vader on my list, which is massive, goes up to my shoulder, but really, really cool statue figurine.
Is it one of those that you like see in Walmart or Toys R Us, or is it like an actual?
No, yeah, it's like one of those ones you see in Toys R Us, but like I was at one of my friends' houses, and Peter Frampton's guitar player stays in his house, and we were in his studio space that he was renting out of the house, and he has a 48 inch, he has the Darth Vader and then a First Order Stormtrooper next to it, or on both opposite sides of his computer monitor. That's and they're towering, and they just look so cool. They're really well made. They're not cheap, they're not cheaply made. They just look so cool. I was like, that's something that's probably won't get, kind of like, I want it, but at the same time I'd be scared to have it, just because it takes up a lot of space.
Right.
But it's on the list, so.
Yeah, collections, they gotta be kind of manageable. My Lego collection's starting to get slightly out of hand. And I'm only buying DC Lego stuff, but
yeah,
with all the vehicles, you know, they're so big. and take up a lot of space. So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a rule on myself for the collectibles that I won't buy one for myself. Um, I think just because I am very impulsive with
yeah,
purchases, I'm yes, and so I'm not very smart with money when it comes to stuff like comic books and stuff like around the same idea. But so I've decided that if I don't buy any for myself, that'll help keep me limited because I won't receive very many of these statues.
well, yeah, that's a good way to do it. I have a collection of over 36, 37 nutcrackers, and I didn't buy a single one of them for myself. So
Yeah, and so I figure,
your collection could be big.
Yeah,
at the end of your life.
Yeah, so I figure, especially with Grandma Judy, she's all into me collecting because she also is a hoarder. So anytime anyone else is, she's very easy to help feed your hoarding habits.
Yeah, I mean, grandparents need to have something they can just a go-to gift for their grandkids. So
yeah,
it makes sense to
and
offer that to them.
that's really what these statues are aimed at, are at the grandparents, just because
right,
they're willing to spend a little bit more money on their grandchildren, and there's really just not a lot that I want. And if there is, I make a big deal about that's really the main item that I need if I need something that I don't want to spend money on.
Right. And that's what birthdays are for.
Yeah, exactly. Birthdays are for fun stuff.
To get things you don't want to spend your own money on.
Exactly. And so these statues are things I want, but I don't want to spend $60 to $100 on some of these statues. Just because I don't have that kind of money to just throw around.
You're a college student.
I'm a college student. I am so broke it hurts. But it's all fine. It's all fine.
Yeah. Well, good thing for you. DC's rolling their prices back to $2.99.
Yes. Bad thing is there's so many titles I want to
read. Yeah. Doesn't quite work out. Probably end up actually spending more money on comics once that rolls out.
Yeah, because I've been trying to keep myself limited to the trade paperbacks, and and so I've been doing pretty well because I'm only getting stories that I'm super interested in, and if I want to try something out, that's something I'll ask for my birthday.
Yeah.
And so having that restriction on me is okay, that's good. But now that they're doing the rebirth and DC's doing their comic rebirth, and they're trying to do 2 issues a month, and they've rolled back the prices to $2.99 for every issue, no matter what length, which I think is awesome. That's really smart on their part, just having a standard price.
I wonder how long that will last.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see. It'll be interesting to see, since they are trying to do 2 issues a month of stories, each of their stories lines. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out long term, because it's not easy to throw together a comic book. They take time and effort, so it'll be interesting to see story wise how everything ends up working out, if stories just feel rushed. Because you don't have a whole month to figure something out and really, really knock something out of the park the way you used to. So I'm very curious about this rebirth that they have. See how everything goes.
Yeah, if anything, I'm wondering what kind of hit will the artwork take? Because
the artwork's the part that takes the longest,
right?
Obviously, in the coloring and make sure that everything's right. So yeah. The whole DC universe rebirth will be very fun to see how it all plays out. Seems kind of like a big experiment a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running out of time, but before we sign off, some non-comic book related discussion. Is there any new music that you can recommend that you're listening to?
Yes. So I just got into 2 new bands this week, both of which I've listened to briefly before and liked what I heard, but hadn't really dug into. and they're called Parquet Courts, and then Twin Peaks. And they're both very surf punky, very very interesting. They've got interesting vocals, interesting lyrics, interesting rhythms in their music, and just very nice, chill, laid back listening. Not too chill, because it can go both ways, because it can get you pretty hyped up and kind of want to punch some walls in some points, but also some nice mellow stuff, and just really nice to listen to while you're walking around. And then there's a record company called Polyvinyl, and they have a few artists that I really like on there. La Sera, Always, one that I don't feel comfortable pronouncing the name, but they're really good artists, really good musicians on this label, but they're doing this thing right now called With Compliments, and it's really cool. So if you order something on their website, which I'm pretty sure is polyvinyl.com, if you order anything from their online store, they have these limited edition 45-inch records that they're sending with all their shipments. And so they're just singles from their artists. They're two-sided. They've got two songs on it, and they're just really cool because there's something you'll never be able to buy unless you find it used somewhere later. But they're just kind of helping promote their artists this way by letting you listen to some different things related to purchases you make.
So it looks like it's polyvinylrecords.com.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Polyvinyl.com, though, for anybody that is interested, specializes in custom extrusions, custom plastic extrusions.
Interesting.
I have no idea what that is.
Me neither.
Looks like some kind of something having to do with plastics, but you definitely will not get a free album.
So make sure it is polyvinylrecords.com, but they've got some really good music. They've got stuff from other labels, and they've got in their online store. So just check that out. Get some collectible 45s and spin the records.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Spin the records. Look at your comic collectible collection, action figures on the wall.
Yep, exactly. I have a record of the Superman the movie soundtrack.
That's cool.
By John Williams. That was one of those things I found at Lulabee's in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I found it. It was only like $12 or something, and I was like, I have to buy this. Like, that is just something I need. It's such a great score.
Is that the Christopher Reeve on the cover?
No, it's just black, and it says Superman the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really neat. I'll have to show it to you sometime, but it sounds awesome too. But so a little bit of music and comic book related on that one. So that's a fun thing.
Cool. Well, that's all we got time for today. But if you want to go to geekpull.com, and you can look at our show notes from today, leave a comment if you've got a question, feedback on anything. We'd love to hear from you. If you heard us talk about anything you also like, or you think that we're crazy about anything, let us know, because we'd like to hear it.
All right.
See you next week.
See you next week.